don't think I've ever really recorded this before, but I mean, first time for everything though, right? So, you know, I figured I would made a little poll on my channel, and I know it's kind of early, but I gotta vote for American Truck Simulator, so I figured, yeah, it's been a while since I played it anyways. Kind of digging driving game, so why not? Let's go for a drive. So we're actually on our way to go pick up a load. Got ourselves a flatbed. The load is dumpsters, and we're going from shit. Alright, I think Idaho to Colorado. So, I mean, we'll see what we do here. For anyone wondering, I'm driving this, I'm playing this game with a steering wheel. It's not like steering wheel that most ATS YouTubers have with like the gear shifter and whatnot. This one's just has to do, it's the paddle shifters on the wheel. It's a PlayStation Thrustmaster wheel. But so that's just for anyone who's curious. We'll go ahead and come on in here. Accept our load. Yeah. From Washington to Colorado. It's gonna be just to our right in here. Cut the engine off and get them loaded. Looks like it's gonna be a late night drive, that's for sure. Let's get these dumpsters rolling. I'm not sure as to why they couldn't transport it by rail closer, but eh, it's not for me to know. Make sure I got my headlights on. Yep, we're good. This is the station wagon there. So I figured I'd play some hopefully copyright-free music in the background, just for you guys to have something to listen to when I'm not talking all the time. I'm hoping to eventually be able to get some friends together, be able to drive together, so that we guys have our conversations, as well as just my voice, have more to listen to other than the music, the truck, and my lovely voice. Distracted driving, guys. Don't do it. This is responding to a text. If only I had the right lane open, I would have stopped for gas before I got on the highway, but I should be alright. Stop for diesel. Diesel. So I was thinking, one of the things that I could do, you guys might be interested in. Where's this? Okay, nope, he's decided to match speeds with me, so we're just going to cut over in front of him. But one of the things I could do, put my windows up real quick, so you guys can really hear me. One of the things I could do while I'm driving, so I can tell you guys some stories. Stories from, you know, my past. So as some of you may know, and some of you that I actually game with know, I was at one point in time in the Army. I joined up, ended up joining the Army, specifically the National Guard, from my home state of Ohio. Ended up going to basic and going to, you know, combat school for infantry. So I left out, I think it was in August 2015. Went to Benning for basic training. There wasn't really much that was different for me. I know when I was in 30th AG, which is like, that is the beginning of, like, that's the administration section of going into basic training. That's like the first 2 weeks of being there, before the shark attack, before you get off the bus. Well, you get off a bus, but before you get off the bus to go to the shark attack, you end up getting off the airport bus at 30th AG, which is a section of Benning. That's where they go through all your, like, medical history, all your administrative stuff, you know, your documents. You get your military ID photo taken. You end up staying up for a few days straight. You get all your shots, all that jazz, right? I remember I had a guy in my training company that he also joined the National Guard, but it was for Pennsylvania, which is right next to Ohio, for those that aren't aware. But, you know, I was sitting there talking to him and stuff, and him and I ended up becoming pretty good friends. And also, for those who don't know, when you join the National Guard, when you get into the National Guard, it's usually 1 week in a month, 2 weekends in the summer. Sometimes that 2 weekends is a little bit of a lie, and it's a month in the summer. And sometimes those 1 week in a month is a little bit longer than just a weekend. Um, but ultimately, it's usually 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, unless you're activated for like natural disasters, riot control, that sort of stuff. Or if you're sent overseas, which happens quite a bit with National Guard soldiers, they get deployed. Um, but so yeah, he comes up and he's like, "Yo, I need to talk to you." It's like, "All right, cool." So we went to the laundry room. And the thing is, with the laundry room is where everything happened, right? And at 30th AG, laundry rooms were attached to the barracks. It was like, it was kind of like with the, I don't know if anyone's ever been there before. I don't know how the barracks are now after the end of 2015. I don't know what the barracks look like because my barracks were torn down. But the newer barracks, we had new barracks for 30th AG. And the bathroom is attached to the main barrack wing where all the bunks are, and then the laundry room is attached to both the bathroom and the barracks, the main bedroom area, the bunk bed area. But we went to the laundry room, and like I said, laundry rooms where everything happened. That's where like all the fights happen, all like the heart to hearts happen, like all that jazz. That's where everything went down. So I go in there, and he's like, "Yo, I don't know if I can do this." I was like, "What do you mean you don't know if you can do this?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can, you know, um, be in the army. I don't know if I can live this sort of life." I was like, "Dude, you join the National Guard. It's 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. You don't have to live the life 100%. You only have to live it every once in a while." And he's like, "Still, dude, I don't know if I can do this." It's like, "All right, man." It's like, "I don't know what to tell you, because, I feel like that's something you need to tell, the guys, the men and women with the campaign hats." Because at 30th AG, they had female drill sergeants there as well. I don't know if they had them for like regular infantry basic training at that point or not. But I know it was an all-male training unit. At that point in time, it wasn't co-ed. I don't know if it still is or not. But, so, yeah, what the hell? Okay, yep, that's weird. This is a weird wait station. But, anyways, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can do it." And, I told him I don't know what to tell you. So, we had another guy. He was shorter than, I remember he was shorter than me, but he was like 32, 33, maybe 34. At the time I was like 19. And, which he probably was in his late 20s, to be honest with you. I can't quite remember. My memory's not as good as it used to be. But, yeah, so, the older guy, come to find out, he was a Marine. Well, he is a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. But he's a Marine. And he got out of the Marines and decided to join the Army and live his life in the Army for a little bit before he went back to civilian side. And he was like, "Yo, shark attack, don't worry. I will be the one that'll take up the rear. Like, don't worry, I will walk off that bus and walk to the front so they all focus on us, on me. They won't focus on you. They'll come after me." We're like, "All right, dope," because there's a bunch of people that were like really, really nervous about that, right? So, it gets around to we leave 30th AG, and our drill sergeants for the training company come and get us. And they're really chill. They're talking to you like they're like your people, and you know, so on and so forth. And we get on the buses to go to our training barrack. And we're rolling, and I think we had our lieutenant, or the lieutenant for our training company was our was sitting in the bus, and he was giving a speech. He's talking about how, you know, shit's gonna be hard for a while. You know, you're gonna go without sleep. You're gonna feel pain in places you've never felt pain before. They're gonna push you hard, and the main thing is don't quit. They don't want you to quit, and as long as you don't quit, they won't quit on you. And so he's like, you know, piping us up, getting us fucking pumped for basic training. And he's like, you know, as long as you guys don't quit, we won't quit on you. And as he was saying that, we were rolling up to our barracks. And he's like, with that being said, get the fuck off my bus. And starts, you know, doing the normal shark attack, yelling and whatnot. So everyone starts piling off this bus, and we run all the way down to, I can't remember the acronyms for all this shit. But there's like a central meeting area, and the way the barracks were was it was like it was almost like a carport, and on one side of the carport was the laundry room. It was an enclosed area, and then beside that laundry room was a stairwell, and then there was two more floors above that, and those two floors were barracks, and they had we had two wings for our training company, so technically four barracks floors. So we all line up down there, and but yeah, my drill sergeants were sitting there piping us up, giving us a speech as well, and you know, basically the same thing the lieutenant was saying. And he's like, you know, with that being said, front leaning rest, move. Oh shit. So, and front leaning rest means you're doing push-ups. You know, it's the punishment position. And everyone knew that, and anybody that's ever been in the military knows that front leaning rest is one of the words that you don't want to hear. So, you know, at that time, everybody drops in the front leaning rest. And the guy from PA is the only one standing. And the drill sergeants looked at him bewildered. Like, really bewildered. It was... If only I could have captured an image of the look on their faces. And the one drill sergeant goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And the guy goes, "I don't want to be here, drill sergeant." And the drill sergeant's like, "Are you fucking serious? I just gave this massive speech about, you know, not quitting, and if you don't quit, we won't quit on you, and you want to fucking quit?" And he's like, "Yes, drill sergeant, I don't want to quit." So he said, well, let me correct that. He said, "Yes, drill sergeant, I don't want to be here." And so the drill sergeant's like, "Well, then get the fuck out of my fucking face." And one of the other drill sergeants grabbed him and ran off with him. Don't know where they went, but they ran off with him. You know, so that ended. You know, it was a normal shark attack. I had one. We went up to our barracks, and we all had to toe the line, which is like there's two lines going down each side of the barracks, and they're met in the middle, and you had to toe it. And we're sitting there, and one of my drill sergeants, he was a very short dude, really, really short. And I swear he had little man syndrome, but he was also one of the cooler drill sergeants. Well, all my drill sergeants were really fucking cool. I was kind of blessed in that one, but I swear he had little man syndrome. He had like a Napoleon complex. We had one guy, he was a really, really tall, skinny black dude, and he looks around, he sees this black dude, he fucking hones in, he goes running up, he's looking up at him, right? Looking up at him, and he goes, "What the fuck are you looking at, you lengthy motherfucker?" And the guy, he's staring straight forward, so he doesn't even see the drill sergeant. Like he could probably see him in the peripherals, but he can't see him. He's not looking directly at him. And he goes, "I'm looking at the wall, drill sergeant." And he's like, "You're goddamn right, you are." And it storms off. But so that concludes like the first, really the first day of basic training. I mean, we had like 2 weeks prior at 30th AG, but that shit was like, you know, you eat, you get used to like the scheduling of things, you do admin, and you run a couple PT tests, and that's it. But so some time passes, and we come to our first ruck march, and it's a 2-mile ruck march, and we're rucking out to go to and rucking is, it's we have rucksacks, which is kind of like hiking backpacks but bigger, and it's got all your equipment in it. Usually it's equipment to last like a week or so out in the field. But we go rucking out 2 miles to go to a land navigation course. Land nav for short. We're going, and while we're rucking, there's this one dude from a completely different platoon, which each of the platoons had their own barracks. I believe he was part of a different platoon, and he's a short, heavy-set guy. Kind of reminded me of Big Ed, except he had a neck. But you know, he's walking, and we get like maybe a mile in, and he decides he doesn't want to do this anymore, so he quits. So we have a Deuce, which is like a cargo truck, but it's not like the cargo truck that you think of whenever you think of an army cargo truck. Like, it's not the Vietnam era cargo trucks. It's like a civilian truck, like a I guess because I work with them, and it's more familiar, that most people will probably know. Kind of like a U-Haul or a Penske truck, but instead of the box on the back, it's like a farm carriage. Like, it's got the fences and it's got a canvas top on it. And so, you know, he quits. So they tell him to crawl up in the back of that truck, and we finish our ruck march and we go out to land nav. We're walking, you know, there's multiple points that you're given with coordinates, and you get a start point, and you go from your start point and you find your targets on your map of, like, because there's multiple points across the area for land nav that you can stumble on, but you have a very specific point that's given to you. You get like 5. There's like 20 out there, but you get 5 that you have to find and get to and mark, and then write down the number that's on that point, that's physically on that point when you get there. But so, you know, we're walking, and I have one guy, I can't remember his name, but he ended up getting medically discharged out of the army really early on, and it was because of something that happened during this land nav course. And what it was he's flat-footed, and you can't be in the army if you're flat-footed. But yeah, you can't be in the army if you're flat-footed. But he somehow got in, and we're doing this land nav course, and throughout the ruck and the land nav course, it's really messing up his hips, like hardcore messing up his hips, causing him some severe pains. And so we're walking, and we start to hear this. We hear the sound of a distant scream. So we go running towards the distant scream. There's 3 of us, including me. There's 3. We're running towards this distant scream, and we come up on this creek, and there's a rustling, and from a bush across the street. A couple seconds later, one of a trainee pops out of this bush. It's one of our, I don't know what platoon he was on, but it's one of our company, one of our training company. Comes booking it out of this bush, screaming, lunges across the creek, gets about halfway, falls in the water, crawls out the creek, and he comes running towards us, and he's looking behind him. And then out of the brush that he jumped out of comes a wild pig charging after him. He had stumbled on a wild, it's probably, I don't think it's a boar, I think it's just a wild pig. But he'd pissed off this wild pig and it chased after him. And these things, they'll fuck you up. Like if you stand there, if you don't run, they will fuck you up. Like one of the things that we were always told was keep your legs together. If you have to, keep your legs together. So that way if they go to try and swipe your legs, I think I might be remembering this wrong. But yeah, so he comes booking up towards us, and eventually the pig fucks off, goes somewhere else, doesn't even attempt to cross the creek. So pig fucks off, he ends up going back to his team, and we continue on our land nav course. We ended up finishing our 5 points and going back just in time for around lunchtime. So they tell us to go and sit on our rucks, because we left all our rucks in like platoon formation in a field. And they're like, go sit on your ruck, eat this hot chow that the DFAC, which is the cafeteria, the civilian cafeteria, that the DFAC brought. So like, alright, so we're over there eating. I don't know what the hell it was. I can't remember what we were eating. But we're sitting there, and that guy that quit during the ruck march gets up, because they had him sitting on his ruck because he quit. He was a quitter at that point. But he gets up, and he goes over to his two drill sergeants, and both of these drill sergeants were fucking hilarious. Like, they were funny dudes, but they could also be assholes. But so he goes walking up to his drill sergeants, and his drill sergeants go, "What the fuck you want?" And he goes, "I think I want to try, drill sergeant." And the one's like, "Oh, you really want to try?" He's like, "Yeah, I think I want to try." So like, alright, well, you're gonna have to do something in order to get back into the training. And he's like, okay, I'll do whatever I need to do. And the drill sergeant goes, I want you to do lunges from here to that porta-john over there. There's like a porta-potty like maybe 25, 30 meters away. I want you to do lunges to that and back. She's like, yes, drill sergeant. He starts doing his lunges. Gets maybe a quarter of the way to the porta-john. He stands up and he goes, drill sergeant, I quit again. So they're like, go sit the fuck back down. You disgust me. So he goes and sits down. We get some more nav points. We go back out and do nav points again. You know, it all works out. We end up doing our ruck march back to our barracks. Another I think it's like 2.5 miles or something. It's either 2 miles or 2.5 miles back to the barracks. And we get there, you know, go to sleep for the night, wake up in the morning. That guy that I was doing land nav with, that was flat-footed, can't get out of bed. So they end up sending him. They take 2 of us, and we help him go to the medics, for the medics to look at him. The doctor gives him a full up and down and goes, you have stress fractures in your pelvis. You cannot train anymore. And the guy goes, can I get like a waiver or something? I really want to be here. Because the dude really wanted to be there. Like, he wanted to go through this shit. He wanted to go through training. And the doctor's like, no, dude, you can't get a medical waiver for this. You're getting medically discharged out of the Army. So he was pretty upset about that, understandably, because that was something that he wanted to do. He wanted to be there. So he ended up joining the group of quitters, but all the drill sergeants knew that he wanted to be there, knew that it was a medical that booted him out of the Army. So they treated him better than the quitters. Because at that point we had 2 quitters. 2 quitters and 1 medical. So you know, all goes fine for a little while. Trying to think of other things that were pretty important. Oh, we did a stress shoot while I was in basic. It's basically like you do a bunch of physical activity to really get your heart pumping and get your adrenaline flowing, and then you try and do precision shooting just so you know what it's like to shoot when you're under stress. And basically what they did was, the range we were at, there was a hill on the other side of the road that they had just got done logging or something, because there was a bunch of cut down trees and tree stumps there. We started at the bottom of that hill. Hold on, before I say anything more. The night prior, because we stayed the night at this range, we did precision shooting the first day, and then we did stress precision shooting the second day. That night, all the platoons, we had, my platoon was up towards the top of the hill, and the other 3 platoons were down towards the bottom of the hill. And this is one of those things that it just shows you the type of people that join the army. Um, it's real late at night, sun is pretty much set over the horizon, and the coyotes start howling, and all you hear is screams from down below, down the hill. There's motherfucking wolves out there. They're coming to get us. And all you hear is the drill sergeant say, "No, you fucking retard, those are coyotes. They're more scared of you than you are them." And it was just one of those things that was fucking hilarious to listen to. But, the next morning we start doing the stress shoot, and basically what they wanted us to do is, it's basically, for those that have been in the army, you'll know what it is, but I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, which is like your reactionary gap, or like your enemy's reactionary gap, to seeing you, lining you up, and then getting ready to shoot you. By the length of time of you saying, "I'm up, he sees me, I'm down," should be you getting up off the ground, running towards your target, or wherever you're going, and then dropping down into the prone position immediately to keep from getting shot. So, you go up the hill. Once you get up the hill, you low crawl across the road. Well, you sprint across the road. You get across the road, then you hit the dirt and you low crawl for a good distance until you get to the firing range. And then once you get to the firing range, you pop up your rifle and you start shooting your targets with your heart rate rushing. So what happened was, we started at the bottom of this hill, and I go booking it, and I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, I'm getting up, running up the hill, dropping. I got to, he sees me as I'm jumping over a log, and I say I'm down mid-jump. So I just fucking throw my feet away from under me and face plant into the ground, which happened to be into a tree stump. Slammed the top of my head into a fucking tree stump. Drill sergeant saw it and was laughing. He's like, "That's what the fuck I'm talking about." So I get up, I keep doing that, get up to the road, sprint across the road. When I got across the road, there was this massive mud puddle that everybody else, because everyone else is doing it too, like they're doing it in like groups of 5 or 6. The other guys, because I was a little bit slower at running, so I was generally towards the back of the pack. The other guys are running around or like diving off to the side of this mud puddle. They're completely trying to avoid the mud puddle. So I'm a little bit more, I wouldn't say I'm a heavyset guy, but I'm definitely, a bit bigger than everybody else. Me being as hot as I was, I see a mud puddle, and at this time it's, August, so it's pretty warm in the Georgian heat. But I see this mud puddle and I think, fuck it. I'm gonna throw myself into that mud puddle. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You know, I'm gonna get wet, muddy. I'm gonna cool down, and that wetness is gonna end up drying off after a little bit. So I go running up there, and I fucking belly flop into the middle of this big ass mud puddle. The only one to do it. And the drill sergeants are fucking hooting and hollering because I'm doing this shit. They're loving it. So, you know, I belly flop into it and start low crawling through the mud, you know, really soaking up as much of the water as I could. Get up, run over, do my stress shoot. I shoot pretty okay. What the hell is that? Oh, it's a weight station thing, I think. But, yeah, so that was that stress shoot. Of course, I gotta stop for a weight station. Why wouldn't I? I also need to stop for the next fuel. But, yeah, so... Oh, shit. That's a sharp turn. I think while I'm here, I'm gonna switch to a different lo-fi. Yep. So, you know, I did the stress shoot. All was fine. You know, I hit my targets that I needed to hit. So, comes around and about. We get to a point. A bunch more dudes quit. I think there was like 3 or 4 more people that quit. And, it was a Sunday. And on Sunday, in basic training in the Army, you go to whatever religious facility you're a group of, and you go to your church, your mosque, whatever, and you practice your faith. For those that don't practice their faith, they stay in the barracks, and you clean the barracks. And for our platoon, we listened to the radio while we cleaned our barracks, and wrote letters home, and, you know, just hung out and got closer with your brothers. So we're sitting there. I'm in the middle of writing a letter. I think I was writing a letter to my dad. And on Sundays there's one drill sergeant usually. And it's the one drill sergeant that basically all they do is they make sure nobody's doing stupid shit, nobody's fighting, and that we're getting to, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And getting in the showers, and then, you know, going to bed. So, this drill sergeant comes storming into our bay and goes, "Which one of you motherfuckers knew?" And of course everybody was clueless. Don't know what the hell he's yelling about. And he goes, "It's alright. Y'all motherfuckers are gonna learn today." And, you know, we don't know what's happening. And so we start getting smoked. And all the other drill sergeants start showing up. And getting smoked is like, you know, you're getting punished. You're doing push-ups. You're doing sit-ups. You're doing up-downs. You're doing every bit of physical activity you can to really make you hate your life. And I always remember this day because this is the one day that I got the closest to being Private Pile. But I guess what had happened was one of our quitters decided to sneak off base one Sunday, which is a big no-no. Even if you quit, it's a big no-no. Uncle Sam still owns your ass. He decided to sneak off base and go to a nearby gas station. And what it was one of my drill sergeants just happened to be stopping at that gas station on his day off and sees this dude in fatigues sitting at this gas station. He's like, "Hey, you know when this gas station opens up?" And the quitter turned around and they made eye contact. And mind you, this is the same drill sergeant that was in charge of this guy before he quit. Like, he knew this guy's face. And he remembered him because the dude quit. And the drill sergeant just laughed. And he goes, "You're fucked." And so, you know, they're all coming back. The entire company's getting smoked, and they're doing a contraband search. So they're, you know, dumping lockers, throwing your shit everywhere, flipping bunks, all that shit, dumping out the trash cans. Um, and at this point, they were also punching out ceiling tiles because they were like the office ceiling tiles, the little squares, and like there's a space above the square. And in 4th platoon, because I was in 3rd platoon, 4th platoon, it was either 4th or 2nd platoon, they were punching out ceiling tiles. And there's one that was it was a dude that kind of reminded me of Bubba from Forrest Gump. Um, he's standing there, and they punch the ceiling tile out from above him, and candy falls. Big old pile of candy falls. He was also one of the quitters for that platoon. At that time, he wasn't a quitter. He was still in. But as soon as all the candy fell and hit the floor in front of him, he made eye contact with his drill sergeant and said, "I quit, drill sergeant." And that drill sergeant said, "You ain't quitting yet." So he started getting smoked. Everybody was getting smoked. At one time, we were crab walking around all the barracks. And I know something happened to where I had to go up to my barracks, which was on the top floor, 3 stories up. And the windows were open that Sunday. And I remember looking out the window and thinking, it would be so easy. But something that happened earlier on, I think this was around October-ish when this all happened. Back in September, my son was born. The American Red Cross kind of failed me on that one. But yeah, my son was born, and the American Red Cross failed me because they're supposed to find you for something like that. The Department of Defense and the American Red Cross finds you, tells you about it, and they'll I didn't even stop for gas back when I probably could have. What they'll do is they'll send you home for a week so that you could be there for when your child is born, or be there for a little bit to see your child. Instead, the American Red Cross told my son's mother that they couldn't find me. They couldn't locate me. Which was a bunch of bullshit because I was in my barracks. So it was fucking stupid. That entire time I was in my barracks. So I feel like they just dropped the ball on that one. Like hardcore dropped the ball on that one. So I wasn't there for my son's birth. But that's what kept me going at that point in time, and I'm really grateful for that, for my son being born, because he was kind of the drive that got me through a lot of shit in the Army. So, you know, everything, all that shit is said and done. They didn't end up dumping my locker, and I think it's because they got it open and they saw my son's photos and letters. But then again, it doesn't make any sense because other people had photos of their kids. But my locker was never dumped. But I do remember eventually finding out that those contraband checks literally happen to every company. They do it once eventually to everybody. So it was bound to happen. A lot of us are pretty sure that the drill sergeants planted some of that shit. But so, you know, all that happened, and every morning we did our PT, and basically, you know, I was terrible at running. I'm still terrible at running. My drill sergeant would always make me run every morning while we were doing like our morning stretches and shit. I would go out and I would have to run extra, which ultimately was a better thing for me because I got a lot better at running, which was never my strong suit. But so eventually, I think it came around to Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving comes, and we end up doing. I'm pretty sure it was Thanksgiving we did this. We did a battalion run, which isn't really much of a run. It's kind of like a slow jog slash running in place. Where the fuck is the nearest gas station? Because I really need diesel. We're gonna find out. Because there wasn't one back here. Silverton. We might head down to Silverton to get diesel. Yeah, we're gonna go down to Silverton, get diesel. But, you know, Battalion Run comes along, and it's literally everybody on base. It's like a jog type deal. You know, you do running, and it's for the festivities of that portion of the year. You know, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, we're doing this run, and I had this heavy-set Asian kid that was running to the left of me, and it's kind of ironic because his name is Jeremy Rice, and I always thought that was pretty ironic, but he's kind of dragging ass. He's a bit of a heavier set dude, and at that time I would kind of consider myself to be a fairly not a heavy set dude or a fairly heavy set dude, but I was pushing it. I was definitely above average. But you know, he's dragging on, so I was like, dude, it's a battalion run. We're practically just running in place and jogging. I was like, you know, get the pep in your step. You'll be alright. You'll make it through. And at this time, there was someone dressed up like Santa Claus on a side-by-side. I'm pretty sure it was like the battalion commander or some shit. But I remember screaming, "Hi, Santa," because he was waving at me. He was waving at all of us, but I fucking just decided to scream, "Hi, Santa," and he moved. He got in a side-by-side, and they moved him to a different location, so I got to yell, "Hi, Santa," twice. But, you know, the battalion run finishes, and, you know, that's all said and done. So we start to move on. Thanksgiving, we had a pretty decent meal. I think we were out in the field during it, but we had a hot meal defect. Because a lot of times when we were out in the field, we only got MREs. We didn't get hot food. So, you know, we're eating, and it's just kind of like a brotherly thing. You know, it's kind of like a big ass bond. It's one of the times that we got to kind of bond with our drill sergeants as well. So, you know, that passes, and we're going through, and I remember, oh, I'm really trying to remember things right now, but eventually we ended up at the gas chamber, you know, the one thing that everyone kind of dreads about basic training. And, you know, you go in, and the big thing is if you shave that morning when you go in the gas chamber, because you go in with your gas mask on, you can feel, because the CS gas, it attacks like moisture, so you can feel that burning in your neck because you shaved, because you have to shave while you're in the army. But, you know, you feel that burn, and we're in there, and they're like, oh, you know, you're going to say the Soldier's Creed when you take your gas mask off. And it starts out like the Soldier's Creed. I can't remember anything from it. I'm sure it's in one of the booklets I have near me. But so everyone takes their gas mask off, and people go to take that breath to say a Soldier's Creed. Some people take too deep of a breath, and all it is that gas going deep down into the gut, and this causes a few people to throw up immediately. And they're like, oh, you know, don't push forward until you know that the person in front of you is moving forward, because everyone, you have your hand on the person in front of you. Is there? I thought it was Silverton, not Riverton. Oh, it is Riverton. I thought it was Silverton. So it's up the road a little bit. But what ended up happening was everyone just pushed forward anyways, and ended up pinning a drill sergeant up against a metal door until the door finally broke open, because they had an issue because the door wouldn't open, and it ended up with just people pushing the drill sergeant through the door. And you know, some people come out with nosebleeds, some people come out throwing up. Everyone came out with mucus and tears all over them everywhere. um, so we got done with that, and then we went to training. It was like the bleachers outside of the gas chamber. We did a little bit of training on how to react to nuclear detonations while out in the field. And I mean, either way, if you're out in the field and you're not at a bunker, you're fucked. You're kind of screwed. Um, so we got through all that. It came around to a Sunday. It was raining, and my favorite drill sergeant, which was one of my drill sergeants, was watching everybody that Sunday. And it was downpouring, and we're all cleaning. Some people are going off to church. A lot of people didn't because it was raining and you had to walk. And a lot of people didn't want to walk in the rain, because, you know, we spent the entire time of basic training getting wet. Don't want to do it in your downtime. So my drill sergeant comes in. He's looking around. He's like, I have a question. Are y'all bored? And we're thinking, this is a fucking trap. Don't tell him you're bored. This is a trap. We're gonna get smoked. And he's like, this isn't a trap or anything. I'm just actually curious. You guys bored? Do you guys want to go out and do something? And we're like, yeah, actually, it'd be kind of nice to be able to go out and actually do something. So he's like, alright. He's like, y'all want to go out to the PT field? He's like, you guys aren't getting smoked or anything, but it's, you know, just something fun to do. We're like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? So we start. We go out there. It's raining. It's not like hardcore raining. But it's raining. You definitely know it's raining. And we're out there barking at it, because our platoon was the Wolf Pack. We're out there barking at each other, rolling around in the sand, because Sand Hill, Fort Benning, Sand Hill. Rolling around in the sand, barking at each other, doing all sorts of PT, you know, push-ups, sit-ups. We're going to the fucking monkey bars. We're soaked, covered in sand. Monkey bars probably isn't the best idea, but we're doing it anyways. Running the track. At one point, our drill sergeant had us fill all of our pockets with sand and do exercises with all the cargo pockets and your regular pockets just filled with sand, adding more weight to you. And so we finish, and we're coming back, and before we left the training area, our PT area, my drill sergeant goes, don't even take the sand out of your pockets. He's like, we'll take care of it when we get back to the barracks. So we're like, alright, cool. So we start walking back, and he's like, alright, everybody get up to the barracks and toe the line. So we're all running up there, and at that point, all the other platoons, they were just sitting in their barracks the whole time, just kind of chilling. And they see us come back, wet and sandy. And they're like, what'd you guys do? What'd you guys get in trouble for? And we're like, we didn't. We didn't get in trouble. This is all for fun. And they're just bewildered that we went out, rolled in the sand, in the rain, just for fun. In our regular camis. Because we were in your, you know, your ACUs, not our PT uniforms or anything, just ACUs. And, you know, we get up there, we toe the line, and drill sergeant, which honestly at this point I think it would be alright for me to say, his name is Drill Sergeant White. Uh, probably the best drill sergeant I've ever had. My other two drill sergeants were pretty dope too, but this one was top tier. He comes running up there and he's got a big old box, and inside the box he's got sandbags, empty sandbags. So he's like, take the sand out of your pockets, put them in the sandbags. He's like, this shit's going home with you guys, or going with you wherever you go. And we're like, oh fucking A, hell yeah. So, you know, we fill our sandbags and time goes on. And the thing that was kind of funny was before we went out and did this, the week prior we ended up getting a new guy. He was a 11, because infantry is 11 Bravo, that's the MOS, the military occupational status. I think that's what that stands for. I can't remember. But ours infantry is 11 Bravo, and this guy was 11 X-ray, which it's some sort of, if I remember right, it's some sort of special forces shit. But basically, what happened while he was doing his special forces training was he got injured. So they took him out and they said, look, you know, right now where you can't come back into, you know, a special forces training, so we can attach you with this infantry group for you to do basic training with them, and then once we start a whole new iteration, or once we get to that point to where you were in this new iteration, then you can come back and train with us. So he's like, all right, cool, dope. We'll do that shit. That he got assigned to my platoon, and when we went out and did that, I guess that didn't sit right with him. He didn't like that. And what happened was he ended up quitting because of that. He quit. He had a special forces contract, but he quit the army because we went out and rolled around in the sand on a leisure day. Because, and I quote, he said, what we did was too hard. And that kind of blew me away, that someone that's training to be special forces thinks that going out, rolling around in the sand, doing push-ups and sit-ups and filling your pockets with sand and trying to do chin-ups, not getting smoked, mind you, this is all for fun. You don't have to do a lot of this shit, or you can just do the bare minimum and not get fucking smoked for it, was too much for him, which was strange to me. I never really understood that, but I mean, I guess kind of makes you wonder if he was just kind of a fuck up for the special forces training as well, or if their training at that point in time that they were at wasn't that hardcore, because we weren't doing anything too much more difficult than the regular APFT, the Army Physical Fitness Test. But yeah, so that was strange. We had one of the quitters, the same one that got caught at the gas station. He decided he wasn't out of the army fast enough, so he decided to leave. Basically, when you quit in the army, in basic training, when you quit in basic training, Uncle Sam still owns you, and they're gonna get their money out of you. So when you quit, you know, for infantry, for OSIT, I think it was like 3.5 months, 15 weeks of training. If you quit during that, you may have to spend 30 weeks there. So the group that you're with that graduated, that you quit in, will graduate and leave before you do. So it's, if you want to leave Benning, it's not the best to quit. You won't be able to leave sooner if you quit. But this guy decided, you know, he wasn't out of there fast enough, so he decided to leave. And basically what he did was he, like I said, with those ceiling tiles, broke up into the ceiling tiles and over to the drill sergeant's office, and then ended up getting his civilian clothes out of the drill sergeant's office and his cell phone. And then he left Sand Hill and he left Fort Benning, and he was gone for about a week. The MPs were looking for him, and then they got a call from his mother. Said, "Oh, you know, he came back here, said he was out, that he quit and he was released early, and he came back here and got married. He's actually over in his bedroom right now. I didn't know he's AWOL right now, because he was AWOL because he left." And she's like, "Come and get him." So the MPs went out, went into her house, went into his bedroom, grabbed him, brought him back to Fort Benning. He didn't leave till well after I did. So he tried all sorts of things. He tried getting out on like a psycho type thing, like a psycho medical discharge, because he tried to play it out like he was crazy. What he did was he took his dog tags, and you know, you got the stalls for the bathroom. He took his dog tags and he decided to hang them up on the frame where the door is of the stall and stare at them, which I guess is some sort of, oh fuck you dude, it was just 55, eat ass. But which I guess it's some sort of form of saying that you want to commit life end. So he tried doing that. That didn't work. He tried stripping naked and skipping through his barracks, saying that he's gay and stuff, trying to get out that way on a medical discharge. That didn't work. The only thing it did was he got a couple bruises out of it, but that was about it. So he didn't leave. He didn't leave till after I graduated. Well, after I graduated. I mean, I stopped keeping tabs after I graduated, but yeah. So, you know, all that happened. The one quitter in the beginning that quit during the ruck march and tried to get back into it and go back into the army and get back into the training, had quit again. He was in a completely different platoon from me, and I guess his bunkmates, you know, the guys that he shared a barracks with, found out the letters he was writing to his wife. He was saying, "Oh, you know, I'm so good at this. They put me in a ranger company. I'm going through ranger training and I'm top of my class, blah blah blah." And these guys decided to write to his wife and tell her, you know, "Don't let him fill you full of fucking hot air. He's lying to you. He quit basic infantry training," which at this time it wasn't even infantry training, it was just basic training. He quit that, and he's one of our quitters. He's not going through training anymore. He's a quitter. And basically that got him and his wife into some shit, and he ended up reporting that to the drill sergeants, and the drill sergeants ended up smoking that whole platoon, because I guess it's against the law to do stuff like that anyway. Like I don't know how the fuck he framed what he said, but he said it was something like a felony, like tampering with mail or something, but I don't know how that would apply when all you're doing is just sending letters to somebody. Because I don't think they got into, well, maybe they did get into his mail. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, the drill sergeants were like, as much as we agree with you guys on writing these letters and being pissed off for this motherfucker lying about this shit, you still can't do it. So, all that happened. Um, I remember at one point earlier on in basic, we were doing like obstacle courses, and there was one, you climb a rope up to some like telephone pole balance beams type shit, and you move across those balance beams, and then you have to climb up an angle and then pivot over a telephone pole and climb down a cargo net. And at this point, when you're up there, you're like maybe 20, 25, 30 feet off the ground. And there was a drill sergeant that was sitting up on that fucking top telephone pole. And this drill sergeant, he was one of first platoon's drill sergeant, and he was an asshole to literally everybody but me. He hated everyone. Everyone. The guys before me, when they climbed up there, he was screaming at them, telling them, hurry the fuck up, get the fuck off my obstacle, blah, blah, blah. And then when I came up, and I got up there, he was chill. He was really chill, and he was really nice. He's like, yo, don't worry about it, Private. He's like, it's just a little bit at a time. He's like, just, shift your body weight, get over this fucking telephone pole, climb down the cargo net, and you'll be alright. He's like, as soon as I got over that fucking telephone pole and onto that cargo net, he's like, it's just straight down now, dude. Just take your time, get down there, and get moving. And, I got down and touched the ground. He's like, alright, next Private. Next dude goes to go up, he starts screaming at him, fucking treating him like shit, being an asshole. And I was like, I don't know why you like me. I was like, I have no real time talking to you. I don't know why you like me at all. But, so yeah, fucking time goes on. We ended up out, I think it's FTX. It's a field training exercise towards the end of basic. And you go out for a weekend and you set up like a fob. And this fob has like 4 or 5 dirt mounds, and you build machine gun nests out of those dirt mounds, and you have a centralized headquarters tent, and then everyone else sleeps under the stars. And we set up this fob, and it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was in the headquarters tent where all the drill sergeants slept, and the first sergeant and the commander. Although I don't think the commander slept. I think the commander went back to his house. But the first sergeant, I think, slept there. I don't know. He might have also went back to his house. I think it was just drill sergeants. But I'm sitting in there because the headquarters radio is in there. And I was set to be put on this radio. I'm sitting there and I'm listening. And I hear, this is Tower 2 to headquarters. Do you read? And it's like in a light whispering voice. I go, yo, this is headquarters. Go ahead. And he's like, there's this weird noise. Can you come out here? I'm like, yeah, I'll be out there in a minute. Let me grab my rifle. So I grab my rifle and I go out there. I get up into this tower. There's these 2 almost infantrymen hunkered down, sitting in this little, it was like basically they dug like a trench in this dirt mound and set up a machine gun nest in this dirt mound. And the machine gun's sitting there, and they're kind of hunkered down, kind of cowering in the corner, and they're like, there's something making noise at the base of the tower. So I was like, you guys have night vision, why don't you guys look? And they're like, well, can't you? I was like, yeah, but I didn't have to come out here to do this shit. You guys could have done it yourself. You guys could have pulled out a flashlight if you needed to and looked. And they're like, just look at it, please. So I look down, and around our fob we have Constantine wire, which is, it's razor wire. It's like barbed wire, but it's razor blades instead. And down in this Constantine wire is a wild hog, wrapped up, moving around, cutting himself up, left and all over. Dude is fucking gushing blood. And I go, it's just a fucking wild hog. I was like, you'll be alright. I went back to my headquarters tent. Next morning we went out there, and Wild Hog's no longer in the Constantine wire. There's a blood trail. We followed it. It got maybe 25, 30, 35 feet away from the tower before it bled out and was dead on the ground. So the drill sergeants ended up scooping it up, putting it in the back of the side-by-side, taking it out a good distance and dumping it away from the fob. So at one point my platoon was out on patrol because this fob, all 4 platoons would take it. They were all staying in it, and basically what would happen is the 3 of the 4 platoons would go out, and they'd go out and do like little patrol ops, and sometimes you'd be chosen to probe an attack on the fob, you know, set up an ambush, attack the defensive position. And so we were out and we were doing a land nav, and we had some officer was with us, and it was our drill sergeant, and we were getting a land nav point, and at this point I was designated the medic for my platoon because I had gone through EMT school. It was just regular basic EMT school. So I was carrying a sled, a medical sled, and you guys might have, some of you probably have seen it before. There's it's a pretty viral video of a dude wrapped up in a medical sled in the army, and he's like, I turned myself into a pickle, Morty. I'm a pickle Rick. But what he's in is that medical sled, and you can roll it up like a yoga mat and carry it. So I'm carrying it, and we're sitting there trying to find out where the fuck we are and what direction we need to move. And there's an argument over what direction we have to go to get back to the fob. And we're sitting there, and the lieutenant's like, we need to get moving eventually. And my drill sergeant goes, if we don't get moving, I'm gonna start putting people down as casualties, and cut that. I'm gonna start putting people down as casualties, and Stone is gonna have to start, you know, dragging people out of here. So I was like, fuck you guys, we're moving fucking east. And I started pushing people, and I was like, we're just walking, I don't fucking care, we'll find out on the way. And it ended up being the right direction, thank God, and we made it back just fine. I remember while we were at this fob, I was at the tower that was at the entrance, and there's a road that comes into it, right? And it doesn't matter who comes in with the vehicle or if you recognize the person in that vehicle. You still have to get them out of the vehicle. You still have to check their identity, pat them down, and check their vehicle. So I was standing in the tower with another guy at that entry point, and we had 2 guys working that checkpoint. And so cargo truck comes rolling in with Drill Sergeant White with food. You know, it's our hot chow. Cargo truck comes rolling in, they stop it, they start searching him. The one that was searching him puts his rifle down, and the other one is distracted, not paying attention. My drill sergeant was able to grab the rifle and hold the private that was searching him against his will and shoot the other guy before the tower lit him up. And he's like, this is why you guys always need to be paying attention. Anybody can just end up fucking you up. But yeah, that was another fun one. At one point we ended up having to do a combat ruck, which was going from that FTX, that fob, and rucking back to the barracks. I think it was like 11 miles that we had to walk. Combat gear, fucking IOTV, which is your plate carrier with your plates, and your ACH, which is your Army Combat Helmet. and you have to, I knew I was gonna end up having to fucking stop at the goddamn wait station. But you gotta walk that 11 miles back, and you'd randomly be attacked every once in a while. And you'd have to respond to contact, deal with the wounded, and carry the wounded. We got maybe a quarter mile outside of the fob, and we got attacked. And I had a guy that went down, and one guy grabbed his rucksack, and I grabbed him. I threw him up on my rucksack and walked with him out. We walked like maybe another quarter mile before the drill sergeant's like, alright, you guys can put him down and you can walk the rest of the route. So like, alright, dope. So I ended up putting myself at the rear of our pack, because I was like, look, I'm gonna be at the rear. No, ain't nobody fucking falling out. We're this close to fucking graduating. Nobody's quitting now. And we had one guy that kind of reminded me of Forrest from Forrest Gump. He was kind of an idiot, but he was like midway through the pack, and then he started slowing down, and he started falling out. Just one by one, people were passing him, and he got back to me, and he's like, Stone, go ahead, go around me. He's like, I think I'm gonna quit. I was like, nope, you're not fucking quitting, motherfucker. I was like, you're literally days away from graduating. And we're getting ready to finish this. After this, you don't have to do this hard shit anymore for a little while. And he's like, nah, man, I'm just gonna quit. I was like, nope. And I put my arm up, and I grabbed his ruck, and I kept shoving him, and I kept pushing him, and pushing him, and pushing him, until he started getting up in front of other people. And I was like, yo, make sure he does not fall back. Make sure he stays where he's at. So they were holding him up front, and I was back in the rear again, and I hear the truck behind me, and it's the Deuce, the civilian Deuce, and Drill Sergeant White is driving it. Now, mind you, Drill Sergeant White is a fairly muscular, large black man, and I hear a tune on the radio that he's blasting and singing along to, which is probably going to be pretty obvious. But so I heard a song that I recognized that I couldn't quite pinpoint, and come to find out, I remembered what song it was. It's a Britney Spears song. And Drill Sergeant White looks at me and goes, Stone, join me. So I start singing along to the song with him, and he's laughing. Fucking, he's hardcore laughing. And he drives up the line, and, the songs carry up the line, and, we're still rucking. We get to a point, and, we come off the road, and they're like, alright, drop your rucks. We're gonna wait for the other platoons to get here before we go to Honor Hill, which Honor Hill is a tradition for the infantry, and it's a secret, and I can't tell you guys about that, sorry, but I'm sure somewhere out there is someone who has already spilled that secret. If you look for it, I'm sure you'll find it. But so we're hanging out, and they're like, look, we're gonna go to Honor Hill. It's gonna be the same thing like when all y'all were privates, when you guys first got here. At one point when we first got there, we all had to line a road with our little L-bar flashlights with the red, white, and blue lens on it, and cheer on these fucking infantry dudes going to Honor Hill. Now it was our turn to be cheered on. So they're like, oh, fucking, we're gonna go to this. They're like, what we want you guys to do is don't be smiling. Don't smile. Don't act like it was easy. Act like it was hard. Some of the hardest shit you've ever gone through. Something that the same kind of faces that you saw when those other guys were walking to Honor Hill. You know, the faces of pain, the faces of dread, you know, the faces of people that don't want to be there, that sort of stuff. Do that shit. So like, alright, we got this shit. So after a couple hours, it started getting towards the night, and they go, we're gonna start to head towards Honor Hill. Everyone put your rucks on, let's go. They said, yeah, the people are there. They're sitting and waiting for us. So we start rucking up the road. And we get to where they're at, and we're walking, and you know, we're straddling the sides of the road. You know, you got every other guy on one side of the road, on either side of the road. So we're walking, and I'm walking, and I'm closest to these new privates, these new trainees, and one of them steps off the curb. They're not supposed to. They step off the curb and they grab my shoulder and they're like, it's just a little bit longer. You'll be alright. You almost got this shit. And his drill sergeant comes swooping in, grabs the motherfucker off of me, and he's like, don't touch him. He's a fucking man. You're not a man yet. You don't have the right to touch another man. And throws him. No, he doesn't really throw him. He like shoves him back to his line of guys. And the drill sergeant gives me a pat on the back and walks off. And we walk over, we toss our rucks down when we get to Honor Hill, and we do our Honor Hill tradition. So after Honor Hill, we head back. Because the thing was, at this point, it was into December. And they were trying to get us out of basic training before Christmas. So they were kind of rushing us. Technically, we weren't spending the full 15 weeks at basic training. We were doing like 13 and a half, 14 weeks at Benning. And so there, as soon as we got back, we had to clean all of our equipment to turn it back in. So, oh shit, I'm at 14th gear. There we go. So we get back, we start scrubbing our gear, and we come up with the idea of using trash cans. We would take these trash cans, we'd fill them with water and detergent so we could scrub these backpacks, these IOTVs, these Alice vests, the ACH covers, all that shit. We're scrubbing it. And what we did was, we'd have 3 guys in there at all times, and we would take turns with because we were all in, the 3 guys were always in the shower, and we'd be in our PT's uniform, you know, the PT booty shorts and t-shirt. Sometimes just the booty shorts themselves. But so we're in there scrubbing, and we'd interchange out while people went to like the DFAC for lunch and dinner. We would get to-go boxes for the people scrubbing, so we could bring those back so they could eat in the barracks and toss it out in the trash can. And at one point, I was in there scrubbing, and there's these bands that they put on the helmet. It's like a little helmet cover band, and it's got 2 reflective tabs on the back of it, and those are called cat eyes, and it's a cat eye band. Basically what it is it collects a bunch of sunlight while you're out in the sun or in bright areas, and it glows in the dark. So it's a way of being able to see where the back of someone's head is in the night while you're like moving through the mountains. If like not everybody is using night vision, or if you are using night vision but you still can't really see too well. You know, everyone's got the cat eyes on the back of their head. So I find one of those, and those are supposed to be thrown away because that's just the way it is. You can throw them away and be done with them. I don't have... Shit. I'm gonna put myself back down in the gear. I got too close, so I'm gonna have to do it in third person. But, so I found this cat eye band, while we were scrubbing helmet covers. So I just took it and put it over my forehead and kind of rested it on my ears. And we're just sitting there jamming out to music, scrubbing these fucking helmet covers. And the other two dudes are cracking up. And I'm oblivious as to why, and I just happen to turn around and look behind me, and Drill Sergeant White's standing there. And he goes, "Hey man, carry on, Stone." So I carried on singing the song I was listening to, doing a little bit of a dance with these cat eye band on my head. So we ended up turning all that in. We had our graduation at the Infantry Museum in Columbus, Georgia. If you guys haven't been there, or if you find yourself over there, I'd highly recommend it. It's a pretty good museum. It's a pretty nice museum. But it's where the infantry does their graduations. But yeah, graduated the infantry school and got out. Went back home to my state of Ohio and got in touch with my unit. I have some other stories of while I was with my unit that I can share at later on dates as well. But it looks like we're getting ready to deliver these dumpsters that we've been driving forever to go do. We're going to be getting paid like $100,000, so that's always nice. It's, 2 full recordings as well. I think the first one's like an hour and 22 some minutes, and this one's going to probably be like 30 minutes or something like that. Maybe 20, if I'm lucky. Oh, and it's a nice drop point too. But we'll pull right up in here. Oh. And boop. Cut the lights. Downshift to 4. Shut the engine off. Drop the cargo off. Hey, $102,000. It's not bad. So, that was our load for the day. Played some American Truck Simulator. If you guys got to this point, fuck, I don't even know why you're still here. But let me know. Do you like me telling stories while I'm playing this? Maybe I could also grab a couple friends to drive with them, so that way I could, you know, talk with them as well. Let me know what you guys think of the video. If you did get to this point, comment one of your wackiest stories that you've ever, your wackiest experiences. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever. Peace out, everybody.